Hi everybody, I want to welcome you guys back to another episode of What's Your Thought, a talk show done for the youth, by the youth. This is the premiere of Season 2, Episode 5, and today I'm joined by my buddy Marcus.
Hello.
I'm your host Keenan, Chee, and today we're going to be discussing the destroyer of homes, the bane of churches, and the separator of relationships. Stay tuned for more on What's Your Thought.
Welcome back everyone to today's session. We're going to start off with what gossip actually is. So could you give us with a clear definition of what gossip actually is, Keenan?
Clear definition. Now that's subjective because gossip differs from person to person, but I'll give my personal definition before we go through the ones in Google and Cambridge dictionaries and everything. But my personal definition of gossip is speaking about someone that is neither part of the problem or the solution concerning another person who is not around.
So in other words, that's basically talking about someone, behind their back. It could be gossip, could be unkind or not true. Is that right?
Correct.
Then it can be it's usually behind the back of someone. Could you give me a difference between gossip and discussion? Because sometimes people discuss and people say it's not gossip. People say it's just a normal discussion. So where do you draw the line on that?
Okay, I suppose, say I'm discussing a problem. Let's come up with an illustration to start this off. Let's say we're discussing
smelling bad.
Okay, we're discussing me smelling bad. Say you and Bryant get together and discuss Keenan smelling bad. If that's where the conversation ends, I think Keenan smells really bad. Then that's gossip.
Yeah.
But if you guys are working towards a solution, then it becomes a discussion. The line between gossip and discussion is drawn when you discuss it for the sake, if you're discussing for the sake of just talking about it, that's gossip. If you're discussing to work towards a solution, then it's discussing.
Yeah. And if there is no solution in that discussion or gossip, it's usually gossip because there's no solution. There's no way to help. And another thing is that, the intention of people, how they talk about things. If they intend to hurt you or if they intend something bad, that is gossip. Am I right?
Yes, Marcus.
Then the Google defines gossip as untrue. Whispers and rumors. On the other hand, discuss is simply talk with no intention of harm. So can you tell us what is the difference? How does it develop into rumors? How can it become something untrue as rumors?
So back to discussion, right? Since you want to identify where's the rumors, when we're discussing something, say back to our previous illustration,
yes.
me smelling bad.
Yes.
Okay. Say you and Brian get together. If you guys are discussing with a genuine concern, Keenan's smelling bad. What do you think? Do you think his house water bill never paid? That's why he can't shower, or maybe we should help him out.
Yeah.
But that's you guys working towards a solution.
Yeah.
A gossip would be you and Brian speculating why I smell bad. Oh, why do you think Keenan smells bad? Or most probably because he's lazy, don't want to shower.
Yeah.
Or because he's scared of water, that guy's scared of everything.
Yeah.
It's like if you're speculating what is this person's issues, that becomes rumor. It creates rumors.
Yeah, it's when you give a reason for it. When you say something like that, when you give a reason, Keenan cannot pay his water bill. And then another person will give a reason, and then another person will give a reason.
And then it all adds up to becoming the rumor.
Exactly. And it twists and turns, and it becomes a rumor, something so untrue and so far from the truth. So then let's take a look at why people gossip. Why do people have the tendency to gossip, and what's so good or bad about it? Why do people gossip, Keenan?
Well, I notice right now in this generation of youth especially that gossiping creates a sense of belonging. It's a very quick way to feel included in a group. When a whole crowd of people are gathered together talking bad about one person, you just add your 2 cents in. Yeah, this person did this and this to me. And then the whole circle just talks bad about one person.
Yeah, I see. It's the easiest way to connect to someone,
Mm-hmm.
The easiest way to when you talk about something, everyone can just come together And there's a form of community in the gossip. And that is a bad form of community. And then, so let's take a look at the second point that we have. People have the intention to hurt others. Why do you think that the people have this kind of want to hurt people?
Trying to understand this, you gotta to find the motive behind this kind of thing. You gotta understand the people themselves. But one of the main reasons I see is insecurity. When you see someone that's so much better than you, that's somewhat perfect, let's say,
No
or
one's
like
perfect,
significantly better than you.
Yes.
You feel insecure, you feel threatened by that person, and to gain some form of control or some form of closure, or like regain power, you want to spite that person in a way by using your words.
Yeah. You feel envious of someone more successful than you.
Yes, and to bring back your sense of empowerment, you disempower the other person, hurting their reputation, gossiping about them.
Yes. Have you ever had a thought like this?
Yes. Actually, before we move on any further, I'd like to address, since you brought it up, that I have gossiped before.
We all have gossiped before.
Yes. And it's not something that we're proud of, but it is something that we're all vulnerable to, which is why I wanted to discuss it today.
Well, we are all prone to gossiping, and it's just a spirit that flies over us. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, which is why we need to be aware of it. So continuing on in our discussion, this wasn't even part of our script, but continuing in our conversation, why else do you think people gossip?
Well, on our third point, we have people actually seek attention. Don't you realize that when you're sharing a juicy and interesting gossip, people tend to lean closer to you. People want to hear what you are saying, because why? They crave information, and I and you crave attention, and this is the two-way exchange of that community, that dark community of a gossip. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I noticed especially for us in youth, especially we are vulnerable to seeking attention through gossip. The next, I feel there's also venting. Life is tough, Marcus, and like going through day to day, people can be difficult.
People are always difficult.
People are always difficult, that is true. And sometimes, we're not very, it's difficult to be confrontational.
Yeah.
And we vent to our friends and family about this problem. But if we're not discussing it, we're just venting, and more often than not, it turns into gossip.
Yes, it does. Because even when you're venting, when you don't give a solution, turns into gossip. Anything when you talk about something, talk about someone else, it always turns into gossip. You know why? Because it's the spirit of evil.
Lastly, I want to look at playing the hero. This was brought up to me by a friend in the youth Discord. I think it's very interesting. And I think it's that we as Christians are very vulnerable to playing the hero. Because us as Christians, we do care about, we are called to care about one another. We are called to be concerned for one another's well-being. But when we play the hero, when we discuss other people's problems, say you haven't been showing up for Bible study.
Oh.
Then I go to Bryant and I discuss. Marcus hasn't been showing up for Bible study. What is going on with Marcus? But then, in playing the hero, what if I turn it into gossip?
Yeah.
Why Marcus not coming for Bible study? He got playing games, is it? Or he got something better to do than church, is it? It creates that false sense of holier than thou.
Yeah, that becomes an attack to me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's all the time we have for the first part of this topic. We'll be taking a break right now, but don't worry, we'll be right back after What the Fact from Bryant.
Welcome back everyone to another What the Fact conducted by me, Brian Tan. So today I have researched and found out some interesting fact about gossip. So what I have found out is that according to a study, people tend to spend 52 minutes a day gossiping in an average 16 waking hours. And in that 52 minutes, they found out that three-fourths of the gossip was actually neutral gossip, and that negative gossip was twice as prevalent as positive gossip. And that another interesting study done by researchers from University of California Lakeside, they found out that the stereotype about women gossiping more than men and that women tend to gossip more, that's actually false. They actually found that women and men tend to spend the same amount of time gossiping. And then another interesting fact that I found is that we younger generation actually tend to spend more time gossiping about our older counterparts, the older ones. These are many interesting facts about gossip and how it affects our daily life. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. We thank you, Bryant, for hosting What the Fact. We hope you enjoyed that segment. Right now, we're going to dive right into why gossip is bad. Why do you think gossip is bad?
Why do you think we titled it The Bane of Churches, the Destroyer of Friendships?
That is true.
The Separator of Relationships. It's that. In essence, gossip destroys relationships. It destroys reputations, destroys careers, and cripples entire churches. Now, how does it do that? That's the correct question.
How?
First and foremost, I'd like to approach this from 5 different angles. Number 1, gossip destroys trust.
I see.
Now, trust is something that's so valuable and so hard to build up in this time. And it's something that's so fragile at the same time. 5 years of trust can be destroyed in a matter of seconds. And that's exactly what gossip does. It destroys trust.
Yes. And gossip tends to break friendships, destroy friendships. And friendships are built on the foundation of trust. So if gossip has the ability to stir up, to mess up trust, it can break even more than friendship.
Funny that you mentioned that. There's a Bible verse, Proverbs 16, verse 28. A perverse person stirs up conflict, and gossip separates close friends.
That is very true. You can see that when you're gossiping behind someone, you can see how your friendship gets further away, how your closeness is dissipated, All these things plagues churches, destroys friendships, and ruins lives.
You're right. Next, I want to look at creating the false sense of superiority. I mentioned earlier how gossip gives us a false sense, a pseudo-empowerment by pushing others down. When you build up yourself this way, you're not actually working on yourself. You're just putting others down.
Yeah.
If anything, it's more harmful to your personal development than anything.
Yeah. And gossip is thought to have to disempower one person and empower another person.
But it's actually crippling both.
Yeah, and it's actually breaking both of the parties.
Which brings me to my next talking point. It harms your testimony. Now, if you're Christian especially, if you're a Christian brother in church or a Christian sister in church, it's very damaging to your testimony to see you talking bad about someone else.
Yeah.
And say I'm sharing to my friend about the gospel, about Jesus.
Yes.
And I'm sharing my testimony to him. And he sees me gossiping about someone else. How can he trust me with his decisions for eternity if he can't even trust me with his secrets?
Yeah, it ruins our reputation as Christians.
Exactly.
How can you trust someone that can't even keep a secret, that goes around gossiping about things? How can God trust you with his own kingdom?
Which leads me to our last point. It'll come back to you. Now, what comes around goes around.
Uh-huh.
And if you notice, the people that gossip the most are often gossiped about themselves as well.
Yes.
Throughout my entire life, every time I've gossiped about someone, it has come back. It has come back to me where I've said something about that person and then suddenly the truth is found out. And Keenan, I thought you said this and this and this.
Oh.
It damages my testimony and it came back to me and it becomes a problem later on.
Maybe you have an example for that?
No, I don't.
No, you don't want to talk about that. Sure. Well, do you have any other points, Keenan?
No. Do you have any points, Marcus?
I don't.
Okay, if that's the case, then this just in.
Oh.
We have some breaking good news.
We have just received the telegram.
Yes, a wonderful testimony from Vennesa Chee. Stay tuned and what's your thought, and we'll be right back after this message.
Hello， 大家好，我係 Vennesa。今日我好開心可以喺度同你哋分享我見證。我係來自彭亨州。我喺2003年嘅時候，我已經係喺吉隆坡做工。So 我喺2004年嘅時候呢，我就認識咗我而家嘅老公。So 係佢帶我去教會嘅。So 其實我係來自一個破碎嘅家庭。我爸媽咧都係一個佛教嘅，信佛教嘅，所以我都係來自佛教嘅家庭。所以當我12歲嘅時候咧，我爸我媽就開始離婚噶啦。所以喺嗰陣時咧，我就跟住我媽一齊生活。喺嗰陣時咧，我都好細個，我就18歲咁樣我就出嚟做工噶啦，因為我家庭嘅環境。所以我就一路嚟都係好獨立嘅，因為我好細個出嚟做工，所以就變咗我係一個做咩嘢我都係好獨立嘅，好堅強嘅。就係因為我早出嚟做工，好細個出嚟做工，咁樣我就接觸到一啲夜生活嘅朋友啦，就一啲燒煙飲酒嘅朋友啦。就喺嗰陣時我就學識呢啲咁樣嘅嘢啦，學識燒煙，學識飲酒，學識去夜生活。所以我係好鍾意跳舞㗎，所以我都會周不時會出入喺呢啲 disco 嘅地方。所以喺呢啲咁樣嘅日子咧，就糾纏咗我都係好多年。所以直到我2003年，我要放棄關單嗰啲生活。即係我彭亨州我甘榜嗰度嘅生活，咁樣我就嚟咗吉隆坡做工啦。但係我嚟咗吉隆坡做工咧，我都係仲係會接觸到呢啲咁樣嘅朋友，所以我好榮幸，我真係好榮幸喺2004年，即係我嚟咗吉隆坡嘅1年後，我認識咗我而家嘅老公，所以佢就開始帶我去教會。我仲記得咧，喺2004年嘅時候，我踏入我教會，所以嗰陣時我仲需要聽翻譯㗎，因為我英文唔係好好，所以仲係需要聽翻譯去明白聖經嘅教導同埋神嘅信息。所以就喺2004年嘅時候咧，當我好明白我自己需要啲乜嘢嘅時候，我就放棄咗我一路嚟嘅信教，我就喺2004年嘅9月11號，我就正式洗禮，接受咗主耶穌。所以就喺我2005年嘅時候咧，我就正式註冊同我老公結婚啦。所以就喺嗰陣時啦，我哋就一齊侍奉神，做神嘅工作，一直到今日啦。所以我都好開心，我可以解決咗我一路嚟嗰啲夜生活啦，嗰啲燒煙飲酒嗰啲好暴躁，我係一個好暴躁嘅性格嘅，我真係會有一個好暴躁嘅性格。所以就喺呢段日子，我係好開心，我學識咗點樣去擺脫呢啲唔好嘅嘢。所以直到我哋喺2010年嘅時候，我就生咗我嘅大女啦。所以就喺2014年嘅時候啦，我就生咗我細女。所以而家我都好感謝神俾我嘅一切。所以我希望大家都係可以俾主耶穌一個機會，令你嘅生活 可以睇通好多嘢，所以俾你一個係好唔同嘅生活方式，一個家庭。Thank you， 多謝大家。
Welcome back, everyone. We hope that the good news have touched you, has inspired you, and thank you, Vennesa Chee, for giving us that wonderful message. Now we're gonna dive deep into how the Bible views gossip. Could you explain more on that, Keenan?
Now, how the Bible views gossip. I did an intense study on this, trying to understand on why it's so evil or why it's so crippling and why God looks down on it. It's no secret to anybody that is a Christian or any student of the Bible that the Bible views gossip extremely as something only for wicked and foolish people. But I'd like to take a view on it, on why it cripples the church from the Bible point of view, on why it's so bad for everybody. Now, I'd like to turn to 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 25 to 27. I assume Marcus will edit this on the screen right now as we're speaking.
It will show up here.
Yeah, but he'll be reading the verse for us right now.
This makes for harmony among the members, so that all the members care for each other. If one part suffers, all the parts suffer with it. And if one part is honored, all the parts are glad. All you together are Christ's body, and each of you is a part of it.
Now this verse clearly states that we are Christ's body. And if we are Christ's body, gossip would be a cancer. If you understand anything about cancer, it's this infection that spreads throughout the whole body, crippling it and weakening the entire body, eventually destroying and killing it. That's exactly what gossip does to us as the church. It cripples us and eventually destroys us if we do not cut it out and remove it.
Yes, if you don't remove the cancer, soon enough it will become something big and so dark. It will spread to all your body and it will kill you. And that is exactly what gossip will do. If one part suffers, all the parts suffer with it. It's just like rumor, isn't it? If one part of your body has a rumor, the rumor will spread all around like a dark cloud.
That's why we must address gossip. That's why we're doing this. That's the whole reason we're doing this talk show, to address gossip at its core. To prevent it from continuing to be a cancer in our churches. I'd like to conclude with this final verse and a few thoughts. Romans chapter 14, verse 7 to 13. Can I get Marcus to read that for me?
Sure. For none of us lives for ourselves alone, and none of us dies for ourselves alone. If we live for the Lord. And if we die for the Lord. So, whether we live or die, we belong to the Lord. For this very reason, Christ died and returned to life so that he might be the Lord of both the living and the dead. You then, why do you judge your brother or sister? Or why do you treat them with contempt? For we will understand God's judgment seat. It is written, As surely as I live, says the Lord, every knee will bow before me, every tongue will acknowledge God, so that each of us will give an account of ourselves to God. Therefore, let us stop passing judgment on one another. Instead, make up your mind not to put any stumbling block or obstacle in the way of a brother or sister.
Thank you, Marcus. Now I want to look at three things here. In this verse, it highlights that we are God's and that we live for God. So if we belong to God and we live for God, why are we damaging our testimony? Why are we living in such a way with gossip that ruins God's image?
Yes.
Number two, I noticed in verse 12 it said that so then each of us will give an account to us of ourselves before God. That means everything we say, every idle talk, every single gossip that we've ever gossiped will one day be brought before God for an account.
Yes.
And the last one, becoming a stumbling block to our brothers and sisters. Gossip in itself, as we've mentioned earlier, disempowers a person.
Yes.
Why would we want to disempower our brother and sister in Christ?
Yes, we are the same people. Why would we want to hurt one another? Why do we want to attack each other? It's like a civil war. We shouldn't fight one another by gossiping when we are all accountable to God.
So, if Marcus has no other thoughts, I think we'll be able to close. with our final few messages. Special thanks to Isabel and Emily and Fulton for contributing to our discussion in Discord and outside of Discord. We have a Discord server done by for Ictus. The link is in the description below, where we discuss what's your thought, and we have a 180 services and many other stuff planned ahead. If you have any contributions to our discussion today, or if you have any other thoughts, please feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. I'd like to end this with a final, what's your thought?